Hey guys, I'm back over a year since my last video. Just wanted to make a quick one here because I've been doing a lot of playing of Assetto Corsa Evo and kind of trying to compare it to AC1 because something feels a little off to me. And this is at 0.3. Actually, 0.3 just dropped today for the public. I've been playing the beta version, but the handling should be the same. This is specific to the MX-5, but I think it kind of applies to all the cars in Evo on some level, and it feels like something's not quite right to me. So let's try to make this a quick video. On your screen right now is a video from an MX-5 Cup car from Morgan Burkhardt, and he's going to drive around Putnam Park. So let's watch his inputs: steering wheel, throttle, brake, and just get a sense for how the car is driving around the track. All right, so let's start this up. It's just about a 1-minute lap. He's going down the front straightaway. There's a fast right-hand corner coming up that is going to be kind of interesting to start. So he's on the brake. He turns in. On the throttle again, downshifts to the next for the next corner, and you can see the car is very back and forth, right? So he's turning it in, and the car has got some oversteer. It's got good rotation, so he turns in, and he's kind of immediately, back and forth on the wheel and then modulating the throttle to put the car where he wants to. And man, does this look fun, right? It looks like he's really dancing the car around, balancing it. The front end bites in, the car rotates really well, and it's stable, it looks natural, it's neutrally balanced, right? So most MX-5 videos you see, they'll do this. They'll turn in, and they don't turn in a whole lot. They turn in, and then they're kind of immediately kind of back and forth on the wheel because the rear end is trying to rotate the car around. He kind of overshoots the exit of this corner a little bit, and that's the lap, so he's back on the front straightaway. Okay, so that's the baseline video I wanted to show you. Now let's jump over to AC1, and I'll show you a lap that I did there. Okay, here we are in AC1 at Suzuka. Suzuka's got a lot of great different types of corners and a good fast S's at the beginning here, so it's a really good track for kind of checking car balance. It's an excellent track, one of the best tracks in history, right? Anyway, okay, so the tires are a bit cold. I didn't have tire blankets on. I did turn TC off. Again, this is AC1, but you can see that my inputs look pretty similar to the inputs of the real MX-5, right? You turn in, the front end bites, the rear end starts to rotate, and then you balance it with the throttle and the steering wheel back and forth, very responsive, quick little changes to try to optimize the speed of the corner the best you can. We'll go around one lap, and then I'll run you through the S's with the tires a little bit warmer. Force feedback in AC1 is really great as well, so you can feel both really the front tires and the rear tires or rear axle quite well as it changes in its level of grip. The hairpin, the front end bites and turns in good. The car starts to rotate. You kind of feed it to the exit, right? You're back on the throttle just after the apex. And if you watch MX-5 Cup cars go around here at Suzuka, they are very much dancing with a good bit of slip in that corner. The cars rotate a lot. And this is one of the beauties of an MX-5 is that they've been designed for a long period of time to be a very neutrally balanced, natural feeling car that's really fun to drive just from the factory. So it makes sense that it would feel that way in a Cup car, even though it does have stiffer suspension and slick tires, but the dynamics of the car are generally the same. And this is an entry-level GT race car, so it should be very approachable, very easy to drive, and teach you vehicle dynamics, and this car does that so well. So you can see I'm staying off the curbs a bit. AC1, the curbs can be deadly, so you kind of have to be careful about that. That's one thing that's great about AC Evo is it doesn't have the curb problem. But AC1 is just so fun in this car, it makes you want to do another lap. Every time you finish one lap, you think, let me just try another lap, because you're feeling this dance that you're doing in every corner, and because the car is responsive and you can use your inputs, like here I overshoot turn 1, correct it, kind of fight the car through the rest of turn 2 here because I'm not quite at the right line or speed. But that was really fun to do that, you know. Now through these S's you can see the front end turns in, the car rotates, I'm balancing it back and forth with movements in the wheel and the throttle pedal. You can kind of hear it. And it feels very natural. It's still to this day a great combination in sim racing, right? All right, well, let's jump over to AC Evo and I'll show you what that experience is like right now. Okay, so we're pulling out of the pits at Suzuka here. This is again default setup for this car. And let's see what we find as far as how the car reacts. Now, tires are cold. They don't really seem to take very long to warm up in Evo right now, so I don't really notice a difference from lap 1 to lap 2 much. Maybe just a little bit. Nothing like an AC1 or some other sims like LMU though. So you can kind of see I'm having to put a lot more steering input in. And the front end of the car just feels... It feels like I'm just waiting on the front end, or waiting on the rear end rather to rotate. Waiting on the front to bite and the rear to rotate. And it just never happens. So we'll give it another lap to see how the second lap feels, but you can see I'm essentially just turning in and holding this steering angle, hoping that something happens, and it doesn't. And oftentimes when the rear does rotate, it does it very drastically like this, usually on entry or exit, and it comes as a surprise and it kind of shocks you. Now, did I overshoot the corner a bit there? Probably. I was probably a bit too much on the brakes. But it's just very sudden and unnatural feeling, especially for an MX-5. I also feel the same way about the hairpin. The front end just doesn't seem to turn, or the rear end does not seem to rotate. You're just kind of waiting on the corner to happen, and then you have to be very careful on exit, whereas I think in most cases these guys are stomping the throttle because it's got low power and a lot of grip. So these next two corners you really can see the understeer. So and it's not just understeer, it's that it feels like the car is unresponsive. It just doesn't see it. It finally rotates and the rear end loses grip at the end of the corner. Yeah, maybe I was it overshot it because the front end had understeered so much. But it just does not feel natural, and unfortunately it's just not near as fun. Now you might say it's setup related, and it could be. I mean, obviously this game is in early access and they're still working on it. I tried making the setup as oversteery as possible. It didn't really change the balance that much. It might change the entry and exit oversteer mentality a bit, but that middle of the corner just still continued to feel like the car just plowed and never rotated. And it's disappointing because this game does not necessarily make me want to drive another lap, because I don't get that feeling that I'm being able to balance the car between understeer and oversteer in a dynamic way that is fun on the limit or near the limit like I can in AC1. So let's watch what it looks like going through here. I think it might be a little better, but you see a lot of turning angle just waiting on the front, a lot of turning angle just waiting on it. The rear end never rotates. Waiting. Okay, a little bit there, and then just heavily no rotation of the rear till near the end of the corner. It kind of does a little bit. It's just not a very dynamically fun feeling sim or experience right now. And to me, it looks unrealistic, or at least less realistic than AC1. So, okay, well, that's my comparison. Again, I have nothing but love for Kuno's developers or any sim developers, because I know how hard it is to develop. Well, I really don't know, but I can't imagine trying to turn physics and math into programming and make it a digital thing that actually comes out and works. So I know they have a lot of work ahead of them. I know they put a ton of time and heart into this. So let's hope they can make it a little bit more dynamic in the future. So I'd like to hear your feedback. If you've tested this or you want to go test it, let me know in the comments. And there's a lot of sim racing stuff coming out, so maybe I'll make a video here and there if I have time. But until the next one, this was my experience so far at 0.3 of Evo. I hope they can make it better. And yeah, for now I'll stick with AC1 when I want to go drive and enjoy balancing a car on the limit. So until next time, guys, see ya.